Single dad CEO's shocking blind date twist. Nurse's kindness leads to unexpected bonding forever. In a world where first impressions could eviscerate even the toughest souls, Ryan Thompson found himself standing outside a chic restaurant, his heart jackhammering in his chest. A successful CEO by day, a frazzled single dad by night, Ryan was about to meet someone who would shake up his meticulously organized life in ways he couldn't imagine. Little did he know, this blind date was about to take a turn so unexpected it would leave everyone gasping. The air felt charged, like the calm before a thunderstorm. He ran a hand through his tousled hair, feeling the sweat gather at his temples. Around him, couples laughed, the clinking of cutlery and murmurs blending into a symphony of intimacy. But then, a figure stepped into the beam of the streetlight, and time seemed to stand still. Her name was Mia, a nurse with vibrant auburn hair cascading like flames around her shoulders. Her deep emerald eyes sparkled with kindness, making the world feel just a bit brighter. But what made her truly stand out that evening was a fresh bandage peeking from under her sleeve, hints of her day job barely concealed. Danger and bravery swirled around her, and in that moment, Ryan's heart swelled. He felt a rush of warmth, a kind of hope that thrummed beneath the surface of worry. The conversation flowed like a river, smooth yet unpredictable. Mia regaled him with tales of her long shifts in the ER, voices echoing in his mind the cheers of triumph, the cries for help. Her compassion wrapped around him like a gentle hug. Yet, just beneath the laughter, Ryan sensed something else. A hidden depth shrouded in mystery, secrets tangled in her past. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun slipped away and twilight draped its velvet fabric over the world, Ryan leaned in, captivated. What was this undeniable connection? Her laughter felt like music light, yet it resonated deeply. A flicker of recognition shimmered between them. Then, just as the atmosphere reached a breaking point, the restaurant's fire alarm let out a piercing scream, slicing through the evening's magic. Panic swelled as waitstaff rushed to usher patrons outside. In the chaos, Mia grabbed Ryan's hand, her grip firm and reassuring. "Come on!" she shouted over the rising cacophony. He felt the pulse of adrenaline thrilling and deafening. Their eyes locked, and something unspoken passed between them, igniting an unshakable bond. But in that very moment of near connection, a shadow caught Ryan's eye. A figure lingered just beyond the door, watching him, and for a split second, fear constricted his throat. What did they want? Who were they? As confusion swirled in the unsettling air, Ryan thought, was this night just the beginning, or would it evolve into something far darker? Ryan's heart raced as he tried to decipher the figure lurking in the dim shadows. His instincts screamed for him to flee, but something anchored him to the spot. He could barely breathe. It was as if the air had thickened with uncertainty. Mia's hand was still firm in his, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Yet there was a flicker of recognition in her eyes too. "Let us go, Ryan. We need to get out of here," she urged, her voice urgent yet soothing, yanking him from his spiraling thoughts. They moved toward the crowd exiting the restaurant, but the figure did not follow. Once outside, the cool night air felt charged, almost electric, yet Ryan was acutely aware of the confusion swirling in his gut. He turned back toward the restaurant, scanning the crowd. But the moment he saw the figure again, a hooded silhouette disappearing into the night, unease settled in the pit of his stomach. "Did you see that?" he whispered, heart pounding. "See what?" Mia asked, tilting her head with genuine interest. "What's wrong?" "Someone was watching us. I don't know, it's like they knew me." Mia's brows knitted together. "I didn't see anyone." Are you sure you're okay? For a second, he opened his mouth to respond, but the cacophony of sirens in the distance drowned out his thoughts. As patrol cars pulled up and lights flashed, Ryan felt a tight knot form in his throat. Every nerve in him screamed to protect his daughter, to shield her from whatever this was about to become. Let us get out of here, he finally insisted, and before Mia could protest, he led her down the street. The distant wail of sirens faded, replaced by the hum of streetlights overhead. Mia kept glancing around, trying to catch his eye, hoping for clarity in his expression. Hey, talk to me. What's going on? She stepped closer, the concern in her voice palpable. I don't know, he admitted, gripping her hand tightly. Something about tonight feels wrong. Something about that person, maybe it's just nerves? She suggested gently, softening his fear with her warmth. But before Ryan could answer, the moment felt shattered by the bright lights of the police vehicles. Officers approached, their faces stoic but watchful, scanning the area with trained eyes. Ryan's thoughts raced. Was this simply a precaution because of the alarm, or was there something far worse at play? Sir, can we ask you a few questions? An officer directed his words toward Ryan, eyes narrowing slightly, assessing, calculating. Mia worriedly squeezed his hand, and Ryan could feel her pulse quickening, echoing his own. The air became thick with more questions than answers. Why would the police need to talk to him? Was it related to the person he had seen? Stay calm, he whispered to Mia, but inside, panic was rising like a tide. He felt trapped between the recent connection with this amazing woman and the shadows creeping in from all sides, threatening to engulf him. What's happening? Mia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Just then, the officer stepped closer, his gaze fixed intently on Ryan, as though peeling away layers to reveal hidden truths. We have reason to believe there may be a threat targeting you. A threat? Ryan's mind whirled. A knot tightened in his chest as he glanced at Mia, who wore the same look of shock mingled with fear. As the officer continued speaking, warning bells echoed in the back of Ryan's mind. What had he dragged Mia into? What dark secrets were lurking? And how closely were they tied to the shadow he'd encountered? He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of uncertainty press down. This blind date was supposed to be new beginnings, a fresh start. But now it was spiraling into something more foreboding. A dangerous game had begun, and he could feel its stakes rising by the second. Ryan, what do we do? Mia asked, her eyes wide, uncertainty reflected in their depths. He held her gaze, wanting desperately to protect her but knowing, deep down, that they were already in deeper than either of them knew. What he didn't realize was that the mystery was just beginning to unfold. Because somewhere in the shadows, the truth was watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. What secrets would explode from the darkness next? Ryan's thoughts swirled around him, clashing like storm clouds fighting for dominance. A threat targeting him? What did that even mean? As he tried to make sense of the officer's words, he felt the ground shift beneath him. Can you tell me why? Ryan finally managed, squeezing Mia's hand tighter, an anchor in the chaos. The officer glanced at his colleagues, then back at Ryan. We have reason to believe someone is watching you. Your daughter too. Mia gasped softly, pulling closer to Ryan, her breath coming faster. Panic flickered in her wide eyes. What do you mean by someone? Who? Ryan's voice cracked, the urgency rising. We're still investigating. But we received reports of a suspicious individual acting strangely near your home. The officer's brow furrowed, scrutiny etched into his features. We need to ensure your safety. His heart thundered against his ribcage. He hadn't thought about what might come after their date, the realities waiting for them back at home. The shadows from tonight felt invasive, creeping into what should have been a simple night out. Sir, we can provide extra patrols around your neighborhood until this is resolved. But we need you to stay aware. Keep your doors locked. Let us know if anything seems off. Mia's grip tightened as Ryan turned to her, the weight of understanding dawning on them. This wasn't just about him anymore, this was about her safety too. Will you? Mia asked, her voice just a whisper, filled with a tremor he had never heard before. Yes, he promised, though panic pinched at his throat. Yet the officer's gaze caught his, and for the first time, Ryan felt like he was being seen, not just the father, not just the date, but a man tangled in something much darker. As the police began to disperse, the weight of their presence lingered, an oppressive weight on Ryan's shoulders. They walked in stunned silence, Mia's eyes darting now and then into the shadows as if expecting the figure to leap out at them. "Let us just go home," Ryan said, urgency in his voice. The streets felt stranger now. Once familiar, they were overtaken by a dread that swirled like fog around them. "Ryan," Mia began, but her voice trailed off. He turned to her, seeing her fear mirrored in his heart. "It'll be okay. Just focus on getting home." They quickened their pace, tension stretching the air between them, thick with the unspoken thoughts that simmered beneath the surface. Every corner felt more like a threat now. They were nearly home when Ryan caught sight of a figure standing beneath a streetlight. His breath hitched, only to realize it was just a man on his phone, oblivious to the world. Still, the relief that washed over him was tinged with some unsettling undercurrent. What if Mia's voice trembled into silence? "Nothing is going to happen," Ryan reassured, though the tremor in his voice felt just as fragile as the promise. He wanted to believe it. However, as they turned toward the last street to their home, the hairs on the back of Ryan's neck rose. The feeling of being watched crept back, heavier than before. "Do you feel that?" he asked uneasily. Mia turned her head slightly, eyes wide and alert. There was no doubt she felt it too. Moments later, a noise erupted from behind them, snapping their heads around. A shattering glass echoed, followed by footsteps pounding against the pavement. "Run!" Ryan yelled, adrenaline surging through him. They sprinted toward their door, the sound of footsteps growing closer, their flight becoming frantic. Ryan's heart raced, his protective instincts kicking in as he shielded Mia, eyes darting to assess the distance between them and whoever was pursuing. They reached the house, fumbling with the keys as fear mounted around them like a tightening noose. Just as they slipped inside, a body rushed past, and a chilling laugh echoed in the night. "What just happened?" Mia gasped, breathless. Ryan slammed the door shut, locking it hard, but the adrenaline wouldn't recede. "Did you see who it was?" he asked, shaking, adrenaline pulsing. I didn't see their face," Mia stammered, fear tinging every word. Ryan leaned against the door, tension coiling tighter within him, a storm brewing in his mind. He had unknowingly brought Mia into this mess, and now they were both at its center. What other secrets were lurking in the shadows? Was this just the beginning of something far worse? Ryan's heart raced, pounding in his ears like a war drum as he leaned against the door. The echo of the laugh still reverberated through him, chilling him to the core. Mia's breath was shallow, her wide eyes darting around the dimly lit living room, searching for safety in every corner. "What do we do now?" she whispered, panic bubbling in her words, making them catch in her throat. He took a deep breath, channeling the fierce protectiveness that surged within him. "We need to call the police again," Ryan stated, his voice firmer than he felt. "I can't let her see how scared I am." "Maybe they'll catch whoever that was," Mia replied, though uncertainty dripped from her question. He nodded, but a wave of doubt crashed over him. What if this was just the beginning? What if they were already too late? As he reached for his phone, a loud thud rattled the front door, jolting them both. "Mia, stay back," he ordered, ushering her into the shadowed hallway. His pulse quickened again. Darkness loomed everywhere. "Someone's trying to break in," she murmured, eyes brimming with tears as she pressed against the wall, trying to disappear into it. Ryan turned sharply. He needed to stay composed. Holding back the creeping dread coiling in his stomach, he whispered, "I'm not letting anyone touch you." Another thud thudded against the doorframe, sending a jolt through Ryan's hand. Fingers trembling, he grasped the phone, felt slick with sweat, but he dialed 911. "Please answer," he breathed, his heart racing with each ring. Mia's voice broke the tense silence. "What if they get in?" "Shoo!" He wanted to scream in frustration, but he kept his voice low. She needed him to be the calm in the storm. They won tea. Just focus on my voice. At last, a comm operator picked up. Ryan hurriedly relayed the situation, each word growing heavier with anxiety. There's someone we think they're trying to get in. We need help immediately. Stay on the line, the operator instructed. Can you lock any other doors or windows? With urgency, Ryan glanced at the basement door. It was flimsy and old, just leading down into dark emptiness. Mia, we need to secure that door too, he urged, his voice steady but filled with tension. I don't want to go down there. I know, Ryan said softly, allowing a hint of compassion to break through the panic. But we have to. We can't have them coming in from everywhere. As they crept toward the basement door, the thudding vibrated again. Suddenly, it splintered against a forceful shove. Go! Ryan shouted as he swung the basement door open, grabbing Mia's hand. Together, they stumbled into the dark, Ryan pushing her gently down the rickety steps while a visceral terror gripped his chest. The dark closed in around them, an oppressive weight that mirrored Ryan's fear. They landed softly on the ground, Mia's tiny frame trembling beside him. What if they find us? If they find us, we'll fight, Ryan whispered fiercely. I won't let anyone hurt you. His phone buzzed, the loud noise tearing through the silence. He quickly silenced it, glancing toward the staircase that led back to the house. The door was no longer a barrier, it had become a portal to a nightmare. Stay quiet, he whispered, pressing his finger to his lips. They huddled together, listening as footsteps pounded above them, a cacophony of chaos. Just then, an unexpected creaking sound echoed from deeper within the darkness of the basement. Mia? Ryan's voice trembled, uncertainty flooding through him. Yeah, what was that? He gripped Mia's hand tightly, adrenaline surging as shadows danced ahead. The darkness seemed alive, wrapping around them like a suffocating cloak. I don't know, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Before he could respond, a loud crash shattered the oppressive quiet, sending them both recoiling. Run, he shouted, pulling Mia toward a faint light flickering behind piles of boxes. But as they dashed forward, more shadows seemed to grow against the walls, each movement ringing louder than the last. Mia, stay close, he barked, panic rising. What lurked just beyond their reach? Was there something worse down here, waiting in the dark? Each thud above felt like a countdown. Were they out of time? Ryan and Mia sprinted deeper into the dark basement, the flickering light growing closer. Every step felt like a heartbeat pounding against the stillness, echoing their fear. The shadows ebbed and flowed like a dark ocean around them, closing in on all sides. Suddenly, Mia stumbled over an unseen obstacle. Ryan felt her grip loosen for a split second, and panic seized his chest. He whipped around. Mia! She was kneeling on the ground, wide-eyed and breathless. I tripped, she stammered, biting back tears. Come on, we have to keep moving, he urged, his voice urgent but low. He knelt to help her, scanning their surroundings with frantic eyes. The light behind the boxes offered little comfort. As they regained their footing, the horrifying creaking sound returned, louder this time, like something heavy shifting just out of sight. Ryan's heart raced faster, fueled by dread. He couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone down here. Mia, keep your eyes open, he said, fear wrapping around each word. If you see anything at all, you yell, okay? Him. She nodded, gripping his hand tightly. They pushed forward again, the suffocating darkness stretching endlessly before them. The light was almost within reach, illuminating a small section of the basement cluttered with old furniture and forgotten boxes. Ryan's eyes landed on a worn-out armchair, its fabric faded and torn. Let us hide there, he whispered, leading Mia toward it. As they crouched behind the chair, Ryan strained to hear any sounds from above. The footfalls had stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that pressed against him. What was happening up there? And then, just as he thought they might catch a break, a grating noise echoed through the basement, sending a shiver down his spine. It was the unmistakable shriek of wood being splintered. Someone had made their way inside. What if they're down here? Mia whimpered, her voice trembling. Ryan wanted to soothe her, to promise that everything would be okay. But all he could do was squeeze her hand tighter. He was terrified too. The noise above shifted, followed by the sound of heavy breathing. Ryan's instincts kicked in. We have to find another way out. He pulled Mia from their hiding spot and scanned the room. There was a small window high on one wall, barely enough space to crawl through. The light flickered through, expanding a little further in the dusk. Mia, can you climb? He asked urgently. She looked at him, uncertainty clouding her eyes. I think so. Good. We have to make sure you get out first. I'll follow right after. Before he could show her how to grip the chair to boost herself, the basement door flew open, crashing against the wall with such force it rattled the entire structure. Ryan froze, heart plummeting. A shadow loomed at the top of the staircase, silhouetted against the dim light. Mia! He hissed, dragging her back behind the chair just as a figure started descending the stairs. We're in trouble, Ryan's mind raced. This wasn't about hiding from a burglar. It felt much worse. The figure stopped halfway down, and Ryan held his breath, praying. He could hear its labored breathing, mixing with the pounding of his heart. Show yourself, the figure yelled, a voice deep and menacing, slicing through the silence like a knife. Ryan felt Mia's body stiffen against him. She was terrified, and so was he. Stay quiet, he whispered, realizing they were now in more danger than he could have ever imagined. The figure took another step down, and Ryan instinctively reached for the first thing he could find, a broken wooden plank. It was thin but might be enough for a distraction, a defense. Whatever happens, he murmured to Mia, stay behind me. And just like that, in a pitch-black basement with a threat descending upon them, he prepared to face the darkness head-on. What would happen if they were caught? Would they be able to escape, or were they already too late? The figure creaked heavily down the steps, one agonizing movement after another. Ryan's heart raced, pounding against his ribcage like a caged animal desperate to escape. He tightened his grip on the plank, his knuckles turning white. Stay still, he whispered fiercely to Mia, who was trembling beside him, her wide eyes fixed on the shadow. The figure paused again, almost sensing their presence. A chill snaked down Ryan's spine as he readied himself, anticipating the moment when their lives would hang in the balance. Show yourself, called again, voice booming through the small space. There was a sickening pause, where all Ryan could hear was his own breath, frantic and loud. And then the figure stepped into the light. It was a man, face obscured by a dark baseball cap, his features hidden in shadows. But something in his posture screamed aggression. Ryan could see the outline of a bulky jacket, which looked heavier than it should have been. An ugly laugh erupted from the stranger's lips. You think you can just hide? You shouldn't be here. His voice dripped with menace. A guitar string tightened to the point of snapping. As fear seized Ryan, he took a stealthy glance at Mia. Her eyes were glossed with tears, the fear etched deeply into her face. Right then, a spark of resolve ignited in him. He had to protect her. Hey! Ryan yelled, shaking the plank to draw attention away from Mia. Why don't you come down here and find out for yourself? The figure's head snapped in his direction, surprise momentarily settling in the shadows of his face. The man chuckled again, low and dangerous. You're braver than I thought. But it's not about bravery, kid. It's survival. He took another step down, looking like a predator closing in on its prey. Ryan shifted slightly, trying to create a barrier between Mia and the threat. The basement felt smaller, air thick with tension. If you want to fight, then let us go. That seemed to amuse the stranger. Fight? Oh, I don't want to fight, he said, licking his lips as if savoring an impending meal. I just want what's in your hands. With a sudden surge of adrenaline, Ryan lunged toward the silhouette, swinging the plank at the figure. The man stepped back with a speed that surprised Ryan, narrowly avoiding the strike. Run, Mia! Ryan barked, scrambling toward the staircase where the creature lingered. Every instinct screamed at him to protect her. Mia hesitated, fear freezing her in place. Ryan! But the figure was already rushing toward Ryan, a blur of dark aggression. Ryan felt the air rush out of his lungs as the man shoved him hard against the wall, winded and stunned. The world around him spun. He could hear his pulse thundering in his ears, drowning out Mia's cries. What was happening? Get out of here, Mia! He struggled to shout, desperation gripping him as he focused on the figure advancing toward him. Instead of comply, Mia did something unexpected. Fear turned to resolve. Not without you. Mia, run. Ryan's voice cracked, but she stood her ground, determination mixing with panic in her eyes. The man positioned himself between Ryan and the only way out, Mia's only way out. The tension hung thick in the air, and Ryan knew that they couldn't stall much longer. He could feel the throb of pain from where the man had slammed him, but what burned brighter was the thought of Mia trapped in this nightmare. Ryan's jaw clenched tight. You don't want to do this, he said, trying to inject steadiness into his voice. This isn't a game. We can walk away. But the figure just let out another harsh laugh, dark and twisted. Oh, I think you're mistaken. This is my game. And with those words, Ryan realized they were about to step into a chaos they had never imagined, even in their worst nightmares. Suddenly, an explosion of sound ripped through the darkness, forcing both Ryan and the figure to momentarily freeze. What was that? Mia's voice was small, her body behind Ryan's trembling frame. The stranger's expression shifted, confusion and rage intertwining. Ryan seized the moment. Now Mia, go. Her legs sprang into action, but just when they thought they might get away, the basement shook violently and the lights sputtered out, plunging them into an enveloping darkness. In that hollow blackness, Ryan felt the weight of dread settle upon him. Was this the end? Or was it just the beginning of something far more terrifying? Before he could process anything, ominous whispers slithered through the shadows, growing louder. Ryan knew the choice was before him: fight or flee. But in the suffocating dark, with fear wrapping itself around him like a shroud, he couldn't tell if victory was even a possibility. What horrors awaited in the aftermath of the explosion? Would they face mortal danger, or uncover secrets that could haunt them forever? The darkness swallowed them whole, every corner of the basement now a realm of anxiety and uncertainty. Ryan's heart thudded like a wild drum as he struggled to regain his bearings. He sensed Mia's presence beside him, a small beacon of warmth in the pitch-black void. Mia, are you okay? He whispered, trying to keep his voice calm despite the torrent of fear boiling inside him. Yes, I'm here. Her voice trembled, and he could hear the quiver of panic beneath her words. What do we do? He strained his ears, trying to block out the chaotic thumping of his own heart. The ominous whispers moved closer, wrapping around him, slinking through the shadows like snakes. Just stay close, he urged, hoping his voice would shield them from whatever lurked in the darkness. A sudden clash echoed through the basement, a hollow sound that reverberated off the walls. Ryan tensed, muscles coiling as the whispers intensified, mingling with the cracking noise of wood splitting. What was that? Mia asked, her breath quickening with each heartbeat. Don't know, Ryan answered, forcing himself not to think about the chilling possibilities. He had to concentrate. The figure, the man in the cap, was still out there. A single light flickered back on, casting an eerie glow throughout the space. The stranger stood at the far end of the basement, his silhouette sharp against the dim light. Come out, wherever you are, he taunted, a sickly grin stretching across his face. Ryan clenched the plank tighter, the wood digging into his palm. We need to split up, he suggested, already hatching a desperate plan. If we can distract him, you might be able to get past him. The stairs are just behind him. No, I can't leave you, Mia protested, her voice rising in pitch. Mia, listen. His voice cracked, filled with urgency. We don't have a choice. You need to get to safety. This guy is insane. I can handle him. Tears gleamed in her eyes. I don't want you to get hurt. Ryan forced a brief smile, trying to calm her. I'll be fine. Just go. In one swift motion, he lunged forward, finding a surge of courage. He swung the plank, aiming for the figure, who dodged back with surprising agility. In that split second, a jolt of adrenaline coursed through Ryan, giving him purpose. But as the figure regained his stance, Ryan saw a glint of metal shining in his hand. "Not bad, kid," the stranger spat. "But it's time to play a different game." Ryan glanced back at Mia, who remained frozen, her face a mix of fear and terror. He had to buy her time, give her space to escape. "Get away from her," he shouted, scrambling toward the stranger, hoping to draw him away from Mia. With a growl, the figure charged, no longer a shadow but a tempest of rage. Ryan ducked just in time, avoiding a swing that would have taken him out completely. Each movement felt like it lasted an eternity. The darkness trembled with tension, and just when Ryan thought the tide was turning, the basement shook violently again. A mechanical grinding noise erupted in the shadows, echoing off the damp walls. Ryan's breath caught in his throat as the ground shivered beneath him. "What's happening?" Mia screamed, her voice barely cut through the chaos. The shadows seemed to form, solidifying into shapes that danced just beyond the flickering light. With every second, the whispers grew louder, morphing from an ominous chant into a painful wail that pierced Ryan's eardrums. He turned, eyes wide as the figure staggered, losing footing. "Mia, now!" he yelled, realizing they were out of time. In a heartbeat, the basement transformed from a shelter into a trap. Mia dashed past him, feet pounding against the floor as she sprinted toward the staircase. Ryan's heart raced, every instinct screaming for him to follow her. But he couldn't leave them undefended. The figure recovered, eyes now ablaze with fury. "You think you can escape? This is just the beginning." As he rushed toward Ryan once more, the collapse of the basement loomed like a dark omen above them. Ryan felt the floor tremble beneath him, an ominous promise of terrible things to come. Would they survive this darkness, or had they just awakened something far worse in the depths below? The air thickened with a fearful energy as the lights flickered violently overhead. Ryan could feel it, the moment of truth was approaching. Would they confront the figure, or would they face whatever was slinking in the shadows, drawn by the chaos? In that suffocating desperation, Ryan knew one thing as certainty emerged. Beneath the surface of their worst fears lay a truth waiting to unravel, and it might just cost them everything. The ground quaked harder, the tremors vibrating through Ryan's bones as he pivoted to meet the stranger's blind rage. The light flickered again, casting brief glimpses of twisted fury across the man's face, showcasing the depths of his madness with every shadowy flash. Ryan didn't have much time. He had to act fast. Instinct taking over, Ryan dashed aside, narrowly avoiding a swing that would have knocked him flat. The breath rushed from his lungs, and panic surged. He couldn't let his fear seep into his movements. Every second counted, and Mia was taking advantage of the chaos to flee. "Get back here," the figure screamed. His voice dripped with hatred, clawing at Ryan's resolve. Ryan lunged, planning to cut the man off, but before he could reach him, the noise around them grew deafening. The grinding of metal screeched, overpowering the whispers now morphing into tortured screams. It was as if the very walls of the basement cried out in agony, joining the fury of the man before him. "Run, Mia! Don't stop!" Ryan shouted, eyes wide as he saw her silhouette nearing the stairs. The figure's snarl grew louder, hopelessly angry about the escape. Just then, a sudden crash rang out as one of the rotting wooden beams overhead splintered, collapsing onto the floor with a thud that seemed to echo. Ryan's instincts flared. The decay of the structure only heightened the danger, and he couldn't let himself be caught in it. "Mia, keep going!" he yelled again, forcing himself to turn back toward the advancing figure, who was now half-crazed and fully focused. "Be a good little boy and come play with me," the man cackled, clenching the metal object tighter, revealing it to be an exposed knife, its blade glinting ominously in the dim light. Ryan's heart raced, the very tool of monstrous intent. He gulped hard, feeling sweat trickle down his spine. "Drop it," he shouted, summoning every ounce of bravado he could muster. "You don't have to do this. Do you think I care what you say?" The man's eyes were like dark pits of insanity, and it was clear that there was no reasoning with him. In a fluid movement, Ryan swung the plank again, desperation fueling his strength. The weight of the wood connected with the stranger's arm just as the figure lunged. The knife glancing off the plank but not without catching Ryan's side. A sharp sting cutting through him. Ah! Pain pulsed through Ryan as he stumbled back, blood blossoming from the shallow cut now punctuating his shirt. But there was no time to dwell on the hurt. He had to stop this madman. Ryan charged forward again, aiming low to knock the knife from the figure's grip. This time, with wild determination, he succeeded. The weapon clattered to the ground, but as it fell, chaos erupted further. The basement began to shudder violently, pieces of debris raining down around them, while the whispers transformed into frightening howls. The lights flickered wildly one last time before plunging them into hollow darkness. "Mia!" Ryan called out, panic gripping his throat. Silence followed, sending a chilling wave down his spine. He struggled to adjust, squinting into the blackness, turning every way, desperate for a sign of her. "Mia!" He choked out again, the terror twisting in his gut. Had she made it? Had she escaped into the night away from this nightmare? Suddenly, a soft whimper reached his ears, cutting through the darkness like a knife. He spun around, adrenaline-fueled grief propelling him forward. "Mia!" But he wasn't ready for what he found next. The whispering shadows coalesced again, pooling before him, forming shapes that were no longer just shadows. They were figures, remnants of lost souls, drawn by the frenzy they had unleashed. The air grew heavy, saturated with a menacing promise. Behind him, the figure let out a manic laugh. "You think you can escape the truth this easily? There are deeper things at play here, horror beyond your understanding." Ryan's breath came quick and shallow, the walls closing in around him. He had to get to Mia. He couldn't let the darkness consume them both. As the shadows swirled and danced like wraiths around him, Ryan realized they might not just be fighting for their lives, but for something far more precious. What were the shadows hiding, and what awaited him as he plunged deeper into their depths? A shudder raced down Ryan's spine as the shadows pulsated with a life of their own. The atmosphere thickened with dread, every breath heavy with the scent of decay and desperation. He stood frozen, his heartbeat a thunderous echo in the silence, every second stretching agonizingly. "Mia!" He cried out again, his voice quaking with fear. The whispering forms shifted, elongating like fingers reaching for him. He squeezed his eyes shut, fighting back the wave of panic threatening to drown him. The laughter of the man behind him rang out, cruel and delighted. "Do you feel them? They're hungry, just like me," he taunted, his voice dripping with malevolence. "They've been waiting." Ryan cracked open his eyes and stumbled back. The outlines morphed into faces twisted, grim expressions caught in an eternal scream. Each presence felt like a memory lost in time, yearning for escape just as he was. But he couldn't let them intimidate him. Fear could be his ally if he used it right. In a burst of defiance, he sprinted forward into the encroaching chaos, reaching deep inside for Mia. He had to believe she was still there, somewhere in the darkness, still fighting. "Mia, be careful," she shouted back, voice trembling but resolute. "I can't see." Ryan tracked the sound, the rush of adrenaline sharpening his focus. The shadows seemed to react, shifting ever closer, brushing against him in a cold, mocking embrace. He clawed through the darkness, each step heavy with dread as he called out to her again. "Stay where you are," he shouted. "I'm coming." Suddenly, a gust of wind surged through the basement, causing the shadows to swirl violently as a flickering light illuminated an escape route through the debris. It was fleeting but enough to catch his eye. He lunged toward the faint glow, feeling the hard ground beneath him, pulse and tremble with the forces at play around him. He could almost see her face, a desperate expression intertwined with hope. Then, without warning, the stranger's laughter intensified until it shattered the air like glass. "You think you can save her? You think you're strong enough?" With a vehemence he didn't know he possessed, Ryan shouted back, "I don't care what you think. You won't take her from me. He rushed forward, fueled by love and an undeniable bond, pushing past the shadows that clawed at him, searching for a heartbeat that belonged to Mia. But as he stumbled through the darkness, just out of reach, he felt a sudden grip on his wrist, a yank that sent jolts of electricity through his body. Mia, he gasped, his heart racing. But it was the voice, the cry of anguish that cut deeper than the shadows ever could. I can't hold on much longer. Hold on, he yelled, his voice breaking as their hands almost connected. Don't let go. But the shadows closed in, and the ground groaned beneath them, the walls of the basement shaking violently. Ryan felt the crushing weight of despair and realization. What if he couldn't reach her in time? You're too late, the stranger howled, and Ryan felt a jolt of terror wash over him, paralyzing every fiber of his being. The floor lurched, and Ryan struggled to remain upright. All he could think was the connection between him and Mia. Grudgingly, he let the shadows wrap around him in despair, surrendering to the chaos around him. In that moment of submission, another burst of light flared through the darkness, illuminating a shard of glass on the floor. It reflected the dim glow, and Ryan's eyes widened with focus. Hope sprang anew. There had to be a chance, some way to cut through the madness and save her. As the shadows twisted and shrieked, Ryan clenched his fists. Would this be their end, or could he turn the tide? Gripping the shard, he readied himself for one final charge. But could he shift the balance in time? The chaos swirled, buzzing with uncertainty. The truth beckoned, but at what cost? With a determined breath, he prepared to plunge into the murky depths, his heart echoing the question that hung in the air. What hidden horrors awaited them below, and was any truth worth the fight to uncover it? As the chaos intensified, Ryan's senses were on fire, a raw blend of adrenaline and despair coursing through his veins. He clutched the shard of glass, its edge glinting faintly, a fragile token of hope in an ocean of dread. Breathing heavily, he felt an instinctual shift. There was no time to waste. It was now or never. Mia! He cried, voice hoarse but loud enough to cut through the swirling shadows. I'm coming for you. He surged toward the ghostly laughter of the figure who had terrorized their night, determined to shield her from whatever twisted fate awaited. As he charged forward, shadows lurked, twisting in grotesque forms as if they could sense his fear. The whispers harmonized into a chilling chorus filled with malice. But intertwined in that darkness, he also sensed Mia. The bond between them thrummed stronger now, guiding him through the maze of malevolence. Don't let go, he shouted again, his heart pounding as he reached out, desperate to clasp onto that brilliant spark that was Mia. The figure scoffed, a mirthless sound that sent shivers down Ryan's spine. You think you can save her? You're too weak. Not today. Ryan roared, charging with everything he had left. He swung the glass shard toward the figure, not hesitating as the fear inside him ignited. A wild energy surged and leveled the playing field for that single fateful moment. In the pit of darkness, mystic forces raged, reeling and shrieking. Shadows cried out in panic as the glass struck its target. The figure grunted, genuine surprise flickering across his face for the first time. Ryan darted forward, seizing the chance. Mia, I'm almost there, he shouted, feeling the ground tremor beneath him, an echo of shifting energy coursing through the very core of that ominous basement. With renewed vigor, Ryan caught sight of her. There she was, an ethereal glow cast in the parchment-thin light that barely reached them, face painted in a cocktail of ambition and fear. Ryan, the urgent plea sent a jolt through him, amplifying his will to fight through the shadows separating them. Steeling himself, he charged forward. I've got you, he yelled, diving into the suffocating shroud of darkness, reaching for her outstretched hand. The moment their fingers touched, electrifying warmth surged through him. The bond between them wasn't separate anymore. It was one living pulse that ignited the air. They locked eyes, and he saw a flicker of light behind her worries, a ray of hope. We're getting out of here, Ryan declared, reassuringly, despite the dire surroundings. The shadows didn't take kindly to their union. From every direction, Whispers transformed into agonizing wails, pressing in on both of them, hungry for despair. "We cannot escape." The vigorous, baleful laugh echoed, reverberating through the once structured basement, now reduced to a battleground with a fierce determination. Ryan hoisted Mia up, clenching her hand tighter than life itself. "Together," he commanded, rallying every ounce of strength, and propelled both of them towards the stairs. The darkness tightened around them, grappling at their feet, seeking to retract them into its depths, but they pushed through as one. The floor roared with agony, beams creaking ominously as they ascended. They approached the stairs just as another shadow loomed, but together fear transformed into courage, propelling them stubbornly into the light above. With one final thrust of adrenaline, they broke through the upper doorway into the night sky. The world outside felt impossibly bright, filled with moonlight and stars, mercifully grounding after the suffocating darkness they had just escaped. They tumbled into the cool grass, gasping for breath, hearts racing. Ryan clutched Mia tightly as they fought the urge to look back, unwilling to face the shadows that lurked behind them. "We did it. We made it," he exhaled, overwhelmed by relief. Mia's gaze darted to him, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Their connection that night transformed them. It wasn't just about survival, but about building something deeper together. "I thought," she faltered, "I thought I might lose you." Ryan tenderly cupped her face, emotion bubbling to the surface. "You'll never lose me. You're my anchor. We'll face everything together." A warm breeze flowed around them, a gentle promise of safety, a world waiting for a fresh start, leaving behind the horrors they had endured. Peace began to settle in their hearts, the faintest traces of what had threatened to consume them starting to fade as they rose together. Hand in hand, they faced the horizon. The night had twisted into something unimaginable, but in its aftermath, they uncovered a newfound strength, a bond that would carry them into the light of tomorrow. "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together," Ryan vowed, his voice steady with resolve. Mia nodded, her heart swelling as she grasped his hand, feeling the warmth of his promise wrap around them. With a final look back at the shadows left behind, Ryan took a deep breath. The darkness had shown them its might, but they had found something far greater: each other. You need to subscribe now to not miss out on these exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support by smashing that like button now to feed the algorithm. Tell me your reactions and theories about this ending in the comments section. Your thoughts matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.